Hey guys, it's been a week since I returned to Dragon Sea after a long 5 or 6 years, maybe even 7 years, and today I'm going to make a short comparison between my era back then, Cap 60, and the era now, Cap 95. But before I start comparing, let me just update you guys real quick what my current equipment is based on the result of my 1 week half-hearted grinding, which is still a bit crappy for this Cap 95. But compared to the armors I used when I just reached level 95 on my previous Dragon Nest video, there's a huge improvement. Why is it still a bit crappy in my opinion? Well, because back in Cap 60 I used to have a pretty decent equipment. Unfortunately, I can't prove it to you guys since I forgot the email and password of my old Dragon Nest ID. You know, kids tend to forget the email they used when they were younger. I was only in middle school back when I played Dragon Nest in Cap 60. So whether you believe or not is completely up to you. My sword, gauntlet, and shirt used to be Legend Green Dragon Nest. And my helmet, pants, gloves, and shoes used to be Dangerous Desire. Because I remember wearing 4DD can give me an additional thunder damage bonus stat. As for the Legend Green Dragon Nest, I remember having the helmet of it as well, but I decided only to use 3 of them for the sake of Dangerous Desire final damage bonus stat. So 4 of my DD used to be plus 10, my shirt used to be plus 11, my sword plus 12, my gauntlet plus 11. I used to play using cash, so getting to this level is not such a surprise. Although I was pretty lucky back then, I only spent around $300 to $400 in total, which is a big amount of money for a middle schooler by the way. What I mean by lucky is my enhancement tend to be successful rather than the materials getting destroyed. Most players tend to spend a lot of money just to buy the enhancing materials and the jelly, because enhancing a legend equipment tends to fail in a high probability. As for my heraldry, all epic, but getting an epic heraldry was not an easy task back then compared to now. Especially heraldry with additional stat, for example bear heraldry with additional critical. The drop rate is really low and if you want to buy it from trading house, it was really expensive. Now you can easily get epic heraldry from the treasure chest of any dungeon, even in easy mode, but back then you need to play in abyss mode or NAS. And that was only on the gold treasure chest. Even then it's a bit weird, sometimes they will just give you polish agate or something. And that's only if you play the dungeon in Master or Abyss mode, which will take a lot of time and a lot of resurrection scroll if your armors are crappy. So I remember having to buy at least 5 of the epic heraldry from the trading house and only get 3 from NAS, 3 good ones. But all of them have additional stat, which is either critical or strength or attack power. I didn't really play with thunder damage back then because affording a heraldry plate with additional thunder damage stat was for only hardcore cash users. As for Jade, Talisman, and Fellowship heraldry, this is where my memory is a bit foggy. I don't remember whether it was introduced on the second half of Cap 60 or on the start of Cap 70. Because to be exact, I actually stopped playing after leveling up to level 70. It was a pretty weird timing, but my friends decided to stop playing, that's why I decided to stop as well. But I remember my critical rate was already 65% before Jade, Talisman were introduced, and after that it goes all the way up to I think 80%. No, not 80, around 78. Because it will be hard to get a max critical rate if you want to have a decent attack power as well. But remember the Jade stat was not as complicated as it is now. It was only either Strength Agi max HP or Strength VIT or Agi VIT. As for the weapon, I don't really remember. As for my talisman, I remember all of them being epic except for the ultimate one, which is still rare because it was really expensive. Although these stuffs are really useless in Cap 95, so forgetting my chars login details is not really painful. What I truly regret is I used to have a nice mount car that I get from I think Altea Gacha box, I forgot though. And also a nice looking wings. Used to wear a red tie as well. So my current character doesn't look as fancy as my old char. Well, that's enough equipment update and rambling, let's get to the comparison part. Number 1, the end is a lot more generous now. It's more possible to get decent equipment without using cash. So in Cap 95, if you do the main quest, you will get this thing called the Adventurous Necessity, and by opening that box you will get these 5 items. The High Grade Garnet, the High Grade Essence of Life, Lapis, Hero's Blood, Sweat and Tears, and the Goddess Coin. These items are really useful. You can use Garnet, Essence of Life, and Lapis to enhance good quality equipments. And if you're short in gold, you can sell the garnet in the trading house, which is a lot more better than polished agate in terms of the pricing back then. So I'll start over with the Hero's Blood, Sweat and Tears. With these points, you can trade it with good items such as the Skill Initialization Scroll, Job Change Scroll, good quality titles, and even a full set of costume. And these stuffs can be afforded back in the days unless you have a great amount of gold. If I remember correctly, you can buy title as well back then. You need to earn it by... I'm pretty sure the best quality title you can earn back then is by completing the Green Dragoness Hardcore. You can also get mount and pets here, which is by the way really rare back in the days. You need to get a medallion from the Altair Gacha box, I think. So yeah, things you need to buy with great amount of gold back then only requires your main quest duty now. There's also another easy way to get gold now is by completing the mission they provided in this board. The only problem is the fatigue, so you can't spam it. But back in Cap 60, if you want to earn gold by not using cash, is if you're extremely lucky with the drop rate you get on NAS, for example. Getting a Dangerous Desire equipment or the other one that focuses on magic attack, I think, from the NAS treasure chest. And then you can sell it on the trading house and get a pretty good amount of gold. Although seal was expensive back then, so most people use the binding they got from dungeon, which the thing that looks like a tree that can seal, although the probability of actually sealing it is pretty low. If you get an epic heraldry with additional stat, you can also sell it for a good amount of gold. Although the probability of getting it is actually slimmer than getting DD armors. And back then you can't seal legend equipment, so the only way to get a legend equipment is by completing the Green Dragoness Hardcore, which was quite a challenge. All 8 party members need to have a decent equipment to be able to complete it. My point is, if we can actually sell legend equipments back then in Cap 60, we might get a good amount of gold without using cash. Although for the legend accessories, I'm pretty sure we can still seal it, but the amount of seal needed back then was extremely high for legend accessories. As for the Goddess coin, you can go to the Sunset Watchtower and trade it with this lady here to get a box that will give you ancient grade armors. Well, this is such a life hack since ancient grade armor are basically on the same level as legend. Of course, legend armors provides you a better stat, but ancient armors can also give you a skill effect. I did inspect some people in town with fancy looking mount, because usually people with fancy looking mount tend to have better equipments than the rest, since they're basically cash users that likes to open gacha boxes. So in Cap 95, most of them are wearing a mixture of ancient and legend armors and weapons, usually around 2 or 3 ancient and 4 or 5 legends. Although most of them are actually using full legend accessories. So yeah, this Goddess coin really helps a lot. The thing is, I don't know whether this adventure necessity was introduced just recently or on the start of Cap 95, but it proves to be really useful for beginners or people who just go back to this game after a long time. But even though it's a lot easier to get gold now, you can still save a lot of time if you use cash, simply by buying legend grade armors or accessories from the store and buy all epic talisman off the bat. You can buy Dragon Jade with the stats you want as well, and also epic heraldry and fellowship unique heraldry with the stats you want. All these stuffs are available to obtain if you grind hard, but you are not guaranteed to get the stats that you want. Fatigue is limited now, so if you're not using cash, it will still take a lot of time to actually have a decent equipment in Cap 95. I know I did mention about not wanting to use cash at all in Cap 95, but I'm actually considering it now since I just gained a huge profit from the stock market last week. Although I'm pretty sure it won't be a good idea since, knowing myself, buying cash is an endless pitfall. I will only want to buy more and more after buying once. So yeah, I'm still thinking about it. Number 2 is guaranteed with wild dungeons and NAS. What I mean by this is you're guaranteed to get something pretty good, or at least something that you can sell from dungeons and NAS now. As you can see, all the treasure box, whether it's gold or blue, gives you an epic heraldry, and you're guaranteed to get 5 high grade garnet as well from the boss. Back then, the blue treasure chest only gives you a green agate, and while you might sometimes get an epic armor from the gold treasure chest, or even an epic heraldry, it really depends on your luck since most of the time they will only give you the purple agate. So it will take a lot of your time if you want to survive back then without cash. And if your fatigue is low, the drop rate will also be trash. And back then, magnifying glass was really expensive, so most people use it inside NAS, not dungeons. Number 3, every players can experience NAS now and even clear it solo if they want. Back then, there's no such thing as a self-adjust NAS level. Well, technically there is original level and hardcore level. But even original level is already at a fixed level which was not easy to overcome back then. For example, Typhoon Kim NAS and Professor K NAS. So the max capacity of both of those NAS is 4 members. And it is recommended for each members to have a decent equipment to be able to clear that NAS without any casualties. Even someone with a full final damage build will still struggle if they want to solo that NAS. Meaning it will be impossible for someone with crappy equipments. And by crappy equipments, I'm talking about people with full epic set with no bonus stat, which is Blue Wolf. That's what I remember because I was using Gladiator. Or maybe even worse, people with only rare rarity armors and weapons and heraldry and some random accessories. Of course, finding a party members with decent equipment even though yours are crap is still a possibility so they can carry you. But just saying, people would not want to party with you if you have crap equipments back then. So the only solution and life hack you can get back then is if you have a loyal friend that will carry you on NAS with a decent equipment. But if you got no friends and you have a crappy equipment, bye to NAS on cap 60, just saying. But now, since easy mode is available on every NAS, you can easily solo it even without proper equipment. But of course, the items you get inside the NAS won't be as good as the items you will get if you clear it on high labyrinth level. Number 4 is a lot easier and quicker to level up your char now. You just need to follow the main quest, that's it. You don't need to worry about party and your equipments as well, since you can just solo easy mode and you will still get the experience you needed from the story. I'm aware higher difficulty gives you better experience point, but it doesn't really matter right now since it's just a small peanut compared to the experience point you are provided from the story quest. I remember back then, even though you're only level 16 and you're leveling up on the spider place, it would take you 2 or 3 ones to actually level up. And when you reach level 50, you're trying to level up, it would take you at least 20 runs to level up, and that's on master or abyss mode. So you need a party with decent equipment to go leveling. Solo easy mode back then would take you forever to level up. That's actually all the comparison I can make as of now. I can't pretend to know everything about Cap 95 yet since I've only been playing in Cap 95 for a week. But I'll tell you what I need to improve on my equipments. First of all, I want to have 5 legend grade armor and weapons. So my weapon needs to be legend and I need to replace this with legend as well. And I'll get rid of one of these and replace it with legend. I'll just get rid of the one with the skill effect that I don't really need. And all of this needs to be at least plus 10 with a decent Dragon Jade as well with the stats I want. As for the accessories, I want to get 3 of these types to get the set bonus. But 4 of these needs to be legend as well. And I'm pretty sure now you can increase the level of your Jade and accessories. And also you can enhance it, so they all need to be plus 10. Of course, it won't be an easy task if you're not planning to use cash, so I'm still considering it. As for the costume, since I already got all this using the Hero's Blood, Sweat and Tears, I only need to work on my sword and gauntlet since I think if I use all of Mystery Solver's set, I can get a bonus. So only a bit more. But this will suffice for now. I just need around 200k of Hero's Blood, Sweat and Tears to get 2 of these. As for my heraldry, of course, if I can get something with a better stat, I will replace it. And I'm still missing 3 of these as well. Talisman, I'll slowly replace this with the epic type. And I might need to get rid of one of these and replace it with ultimate type as well. I also checked out Akawakazu's gladiator stats recently, and there's a huge gap between my stat and his stat. So if I remember correctly, he got 91% of critical. And this one is almost 300%. Also, his attack power is 5 million plus. And his HP, I think, is around 10 million. But I think that's after using ROB and stuff. So I'm not sure. Maybe 8 or 9 million in town. But yeah, there's a huge gap between our stats currently. That's why I need to work on a lot of stats here. But now I guess I have a better picture of what is considered to be a good or decent equipment in Cap 95, and I'll slowly work my way up there. I promise once I get to that level, I'll make more solo NAS contents for YouTube. Oh, and also there's a slight increase in my attack power compared to earlier in this video since I basically just got a better Jade for my wing. Alright guys, that's about all. Thanks for stopping by. And before you quit this video, I'll just leave you a footage of me trying to solo a Nash in lap 4 level. But that's before I change the shade of my wing.